Welcome, viewing several once again to my little series I like to call Hands Up, Who Loves a Train Set? Me! So, we're on episode, what number episode will be on? I think it's about 54 or 53 or 55. I mean, I can go through the list and check, and before I publish the video I might double check and we'll see, but it's 50 something. So here we are today, and we have got this lovely Triang Railways RS.24. Now, this set is a nice little set, and I picked this up the other day. I like the little sets a lot. I like the bigger sets obviously as well, but there's quite a bit of charm about these smaller sets, I think. So this set, RS.24 catalogue number, it was introduced, came into the catalogue in 1962. I believe that is when you start getting the Super 4 track. Now, for the first year in 62, it was advertised as the BR Goods. Oh God, look at that! The BR Goods set. And then from 63 onwards it changed its name to the Pickup Goods, and it went on until 67, and then in 68 it was named, they dropped the definite article and they changed the Loco to the red one and it became just Pickup. But yeah, so in the catalogue you'll mostly see it as Pickup, as the Pickup set. Now this one I think is an earlier one, because we've got this picture of these two boys and their dad. So in the later sets, from I think 63 or 64 onwards, you get what I call the Susan cover, with the girl who I've named Susan, because, you know, most girls were called Susan in the 60s. So if you think about it, Doctor Who's granddaughter, Susan. The girl in the Day of the Triffids movie, Susan. Jimmy Clitheroe's sister, Susan. So the Susan cover, I'll just show you that, it's reproduced here on this one. So that is Susan. Now, she may not have been called Susan, but that's what I call her, because every film in the 60s the girl is always called Susan. So there we go. It doesn't have the Susan cover, it's got this one. And the interesting about this is we've got this kind of weird train wallpaper. They've got a poster of electrification. The younger boy, he looks like he's probably not quite, he's probably into Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, whereas the older boy, he looks like he's got a little bit of a quiff going on. He's got a sleeveless shirt and sort of these trousers. I think he's kind of into Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, or maybe Eddie Cochran or something like that. So he's a little bit older and he's a little bit cooler. But, you know, they've got this layout, which is an incredible layout. So I don't know how many people actually in reality had, because even if you go to the collectors' rallies and, you know, the clubs and things, you rarely get a layout. Even the club people, they don't have a layout as good as that usually, but yeah, maybe some people did. But anyway, so this set is a lovely set, so we'll have a look inside, shall we? Right, so inside you get the servicing scheme thing, you get some instructions, and you've even got this leaflet which is to do with operating the points and the point levers, and stuff like that, which is nice to have. It's nice to have the paperwork, because a lot of these sets I get them and they're in very, very poor condition. So this one, interestingly enough, you get an oval of track and you get two straights. So in the set I was supplied, I got this piece. Now this, I've never seen one of these in real life. And I thought, ooh, is that a Triang power track? No, it's not. If you look at that, they both go to the same side. This is an isolation track, which this is the only one I've ever seen, and I've got a big box of this track. So this one's going back in my big box of track where I've got points and all sorts of things that all need a clean up. And yeah, so the idea is you can put a switch between there and you can isolate bits of the track. I think most trying points work as isolating points, but there are obviously cases where you're building layouts where you might want a piece of isolating track. So in the end, what I did was I just got one of my straights out of the big box, and then you get 8 curves, all good stuff. As I said before, I'm a massive fan of this track because as a train set track, it's coarse, it's heavy, but it's robust. People complain about it and say that it rusts and blah 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 blah. It doesn't warp. I've never had any problems with any of it. I can always clean it up. You can actually slide the rails out, clean the sleeper separately, completely clean the rails. It's completely maintainable, and it's really good. And of course, if you're running trying stock, it will handle the coarser wheels. So the locomotive, right, here we go. So we've got the industrial, this industrial thing. I think it's based on a C14 or 15 or something, but it's freelance, and they built a number of these. They started off with Nelly, and he had a Connie as well, and then sometimes the Connie would be yellow, and then they had a red one which was Polly. But these are great, these run really well, and they carried on in, these came out in about 1960 odd as their entry level 040. Now these are really good and they're pretty heavy. I've got one, the last of them they made up until the sort of 77, 78, and they were the same as this, but they have a you know, like a number on that might be one of the phone numbers of the Margate service department or something like that, so a made up number. But yeah, I mean, I really like these, and this box is in pretty good nick. As you can see, we're still on cardboard at this point, so my suspicion is that this is an early set because of the picture on the front. I do think it's probably you know, probably one of the early ones, 62, maybe 63. So what do you get? You get one of these, which is the open wagon, and these are I like these. These are nice. They're good weight. You get the Insel fish fan, which is the refrigerated fish fan, and you get one of these, which is an alternative to the other kind of 20-ton brake van. This is the, I think they call it the Eastern brake van or the EL or something like that, but it's yeah, it's nice. They're nice. They've got good weight to them, and they are, well, how old are they now? 60, probably 65 years old-ish. So yeah, you can't really go wrong with that. Is it worth having a look in the instructions? Well, it just doesn't really show you much. It just shows you how to wire it up and so on and so forth. It includes a thing about accumulator operation. Now, I don't know what an accumulator is. I assume what it is, it's like a big capacitor or something that you plug into your one plug socket and you charge it up, and then you can use that safely and not have to use the one plug socket. Because my dad was telling me when he was younger, they just had one plug socket, and then people used to get an adapter and they plug the iron into the one electric lamp, and you could get an adapter and plug it into that, and there were no circuit breakers or anything like that, and people used to put matchsticks in and just put wires in and all sorts of unsafe things. But yeah, I'm going to use my Clipper, which is a sort of 70s or 60s H&M controller, which I think is appropriate for this. Now I didn't get a power clip with this, but I've got one. So this is the trying power clip that I've got on standby for using all of these sets, and I'll just hook it up to the Clipper. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly show you inside this. on the rolling road. And I will talk about some of the, you know, when you buy an old set like this, it's always fun to take all the stuff out the box and see what's hiding under the tray. And there's nearly always some interesting bits and pieces. So I'll show you that. And then we'll have a beer and watch it run. Right, so these 040 industrial tank engines are actually pretty solid. I've got a couple of these. I've got one that's one of the last ones that was made in the late 70s, 77, 78, with just the number on the side. But yeah, all I've done is clean the commutator and the wheels and just a little bit of oil. So we're running on an H&M clipper, which is go the other way. So it's not bad. I mean, you rarely have any problems with these Locos, as far as I've found. It might run itself off my rolling road with vibration, but other than that, I think that's. I mean, it was a reasonable runner when I got it, but they always benefit from a quick clean and a little bit of lubrication. And then a warm up. So yeah, it's all good. Body shell comes off easy. There's just one flathead screw that goes in there that screws it to the chassis. So there we go. Job's a good one. So it's always worth looking inside the box under the tray to see what bonus detritus you can find. We had a bunch of bits of stuff that will go straight in the bin, but we also had, now I'm looking at this on the camera and it's magnified, so I can't really I'm finding it hard to use my hands in real time. So we've got this interesting soldier. I don't know what that is. I actually don't recognise that at all. It must be some kind of, it's either, yeah, I was going to say it says Hong Kong, I was going to say it's some kind of Hong Kong made thing. There was a lot of sort of generic soldiers in the 70s, all different ones. Some of them were like really poor remolds of Airfix, and some of them were just kind of freelance. So I've never seen that one before. He has got what looks like his rifle. As well, it's got the magazine on the top. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be actually, but I'm not even sure if that's a rifle he's got. No, that is a pack, not a flamethrower. So that's, yeah, that's supposed to be like a machine gun. I think somebody's painted him, and they've obviously, somebody's given him a bloody eye. But yeah, interesting. But you've also got this chap here, a rather lackadaisical and lazy porter, leaning. That's backwards. That's the front side there, it would appear. Now I haven't seen this before, but I assume this is one of the trackside figures. I haven't looked it up. I don't know whether somebody's painted that or whether it came painted like that. But yeah, we'll call him Porter Pete, and he's just there leaning on a box, and he's probably thinking about when he can next go for a cigarette break. And then you've got one of these, which is the incline sign, so the sticker that was on it has obviously come off. But yeah, so always interesting in these old train sets what sort of little extras you might find. So there we go, that was what's in this one. Right, here we are then on the track with a beer, the best bit of the evening, where we get to play with the train, have a little drink. We've got Keo, which is a Cypriot lager. It's quite nice that. It's nice and refreshing. So let's come round, pick up the train. Right, it's that way. We've got the clipper, which is age appropriate for this. Right, off we go then. Come on, Nelly. Oops, she hasn't coupled up properly. We'll do that again. Yeah, what we might have to do is I'm just gonna put that on the straight. There we go. And we're off. Slow to start. She's a little bit noisy, this one, but I will show you another one of these that is not as old, probably 15 or so years younger, and we'll have a look at that. And that one isn't as noisy, but you know, this is probably 64 years old. So you can see that's running pretty nicely. Now I did run it round the track on its own without the train, and it was quite quick. It was quick enough to tip on the corners. So let's just up the power a little bit. I think on full speed it's still pretty quick. I mean, there's a little bit more to go there, and we might come off the track. So these are pocket rockets, these ones. But yeah, let's go backwards. But you can see that's running pretty well, considering the age of everything. The track, the motor, the rolling stops, even the control. I think this controller's quite old as well, but it works. So I'm quite fond of these 040 Nellies. They were sort of slightly before my time, so by the time I got into it as a small child, the starter locomotive was actually, there were some of those horrible plasticky 040s that they call Continentals and things, but it was mainly the Ginty. By the time it got to like 74, 75, the Ginty was coming to the end of its tooling, so you would get the 060 in a starter. So that's the old original 54 tooling Ginty. But these ones are pretty good, and I didn't have any of these until, you know, the last couple of years or so. But I think these are a decent starter loco. Obviously they're not very detailed. The cab is just a void. But I mean, if you like train sets, I don't think you can really go wrong with that. Now we'll slow it down a little bit. Now it's warmed up. But she's a noisy one, this. I could probably grease it up a bit. So I've cleaned it, and you don't really need to do much to these, and it wasn't in too bad condition, so that's pretty nice, I think. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this one, which is one of the last one of these made. And this is from about 1977, 78, they made these ones. I think the wheels may be less coarse, I'm not sure. Let's see how it performs. It's a lot smoother and quieter, but I think it may have a different motor in it, so that may be why. So let's couple that up, and then we'll take that one round. So this one, I bought this, and it works straight away on all types of track. It was one of the first old ones I bought. So this would have been, by the time this was made, it would have been Hornby Railways. It was very much trying railways when this was made, but obviously they've made it a lot smoother. They've kept the body, but that one is nicer. But when I first started collecting old model railways, this was my go-to test locomotive, because I knew it was, you could rely on it to run on any track. It would just always work. So if you ever had any problems with anything, you could swap this one in and just test it. And if I built some sort of Christmas ovals for people I know, and I always used to take this one along to test it out when we wired it up, because I knew that it was going to work. So yeah, that one still goes pretty fast. But yeah, let's put the original one back on now. And you can see it's a completely different setup underneath, and it's got a plastic as opposed to brass gear. I think the motor is different. I think this one's one of those, just like a Scalextric self-contained motor, whereas this one is the older motor with the brushes on the clips and everything. So it is the, I forget what they call it, XO4 or XO3 motor, whereas this one I think is just you know, a CAN motor, and that's the difference. So that's why it's less loud and slightly smoother. But I do think this one has a charm of its own. So there we go. That is the RS.24, originally BR Goods set, then for several years the pickup set, and finally with the red engine, which I think was Poly. For 1 year it was just called pickup. But a great starter set, and I do think that some of the starter sets they did since were not as good as this. And if you look at a Hornby starter set now, you get an 040, but you only get 2 wagons, and you don't usually get a brake van. And you get a 3rd radius track, which arguably is better, but I mean, I like this because it fits on here. But also I like to watch train go round. I think if you've got a small train going round a huge track, it doesn't really add anything. I think this is about right, even with longer trains. So there we go. So anyway, I hope you like this set. I'll do some running shots and we'll wrap up.